All right, let's go. So we're basically on day number 18. So the days are passing by. So it's less important if it's day 16, 17, 18. But in each one, we are basically seeing some progress. And we'll go in a second here over the metrics, right? Because this series is about me running paid ads for my marketing agency. So basically trying to get in contact with eCom Shopify owners. But at the same time, as you might have already seen, heard in the previous videos, I do prefer to talk about other things as well, just because they are very much connected, right? And let me put my phone down here because I just got a notification and fully distracted here, I guess. So what I want to talk about in this video is personal brand. You probably heard about this term a lot recently, and that's because it's the new shiny thing, right? But it's definitely not something new, right? Because one other way to look at this is just like 30 years ago, like in the 90s, right? It's 90s, 30 years ago now. So in the 90s, if you would listen to Tony Robbins and what he says about what will like never change, over time, like what do you actually need to master? And that thing was and still is adaptability. Because think like this: what is your personal brand? Your personal brand is, let's say, something that is relevant for a specific group of people during this time. And why am I saying during this time? Simple, because it's very hard to do the same thing, almost impossible to do the same thing for a very long time without any kind of change or any kind of tweak or adapting. And I can give you an example basically from music, right? Just think of Madonna, for example. Like, she had to change her look, her music, and many other things along the way. The different artists that she has been working with, right? So that's how you stay relevant. You actually make changes. For example, look at Iman Gadzhi. Like, he right now is launching a new shiny thing, let's say, which is also good in terms of actual quality, right? Because fortunately he's at that stage where he has a team, he knows copywriting, he has so much leverage that it's impossible to actually create something of a low quality at this point. So everything he makes is of good quality. The problem is that if you get something of good quality, but you're not ready for that thing, of course it won't help you, right? It's just like, let's say, getting, I'm trying to think. So getting basically the highest end MacBook, the M4 Max, right? If there's one out, I'm not sure. And you have it, but you have it at like 13 years old, when basically the only thing that you're doing is maybe playing League of Legends. So it's not useful at that point. But later on, you would pay 10K for that M4 Max MacBook just because it would make you yearly 100K, 200K, right? So I just wanted to tie that adaptability with the personal brand, because personal brand is not something new, right? So we do need to be aware of that. It has always been a thing. Right now, it's just like the focus, the shiny thing, right? So at the same time, it is true that it's important, right? Like, even myself, you can see my videos here on this channel from December 2024. But I'm creating content from 2019 in my native language, Romanian. So it's been like 5 years, but after 5 years, decided to go international, let's say, right? Because at one point you just realize that there's a limit, and you basically limit yourself if you would just think small, right? Because think of the total addressable market. Why would you speak to just 20 million people when you can actually speak to 2 billion people, right? Or 200 million, let's say, right? So that's why it's really important to reflect on things. And with all of that being said, right, let's focus on the personal brand, because I think yesterday or 2 days ago, I did get a comment from someone who's watching the YouTube videos. You might be watching right now. And basically he was mentioning that if there's any kind of role that I have available, Then we can chat, and yeah, he basically gains experience, I gain to actually meet someone who has motivation, right? Because there are not as many people motivated out there. Like, if you are one of them, then you are, let's say, to some extent in the 10% automatically, meaning that there are not as many motivated people. And of course, from those, not everyone will become like the 1% or the 5% reach and so on, just because it's also a mindset thing, an environment thing, right? So there are multiple things, but motivation and that hunger is pretty rare. And basically, why I'm mentioning as a title here the personal brand is because of that example. Because like, if I wouldn't post online, younger people or people who were probably at the same stage as me, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they wouldn't find me, right? So it's like, that's the best way to find clients, online friends, or yeah, just collaborators in general, because it's a common issue actually with HR managers and so on. They are searching on LinkedIn and so on, and of course it's like transactional, you know, instead of actually being something like more fun. That's why I'm actually making these videos, because like, they are not something really that hard for me to make. Like, I can fit them into my schedule. It's basically documenting what I'm doing, and I would highly advise you to actually do that, because no one ever said they regretted documenting the journey, creating a personal brand, or just sharing their thoughts. Because when you do that, especially as a man who probably isn't talking as much with other people around, right? And this is also a gender thing, because women, for example, do tend to talk more, like that's their nature. While, for example, for many guys, and this is actually a problem nowadays, especially younger, right? There could be frustration because like there's a high expectation of making money, of being rich, just because you see all of that abundance online, right? So it always comes to the mindset. So with all of that being said, let's switch the camera here to Ads Manager, if you are also interested in Ads Manager, because the thing with ads is also that it does build a personal brand, even though it's slow, because many people are running ads just to get clients. Like, all right, was the money in, was the money out, you know, very transactional. But to some extent, you might be forgetting that you are actually spending money for visibility, and it's not like you have to get clients, right? Sometimes you just make connections, and let's be honest, I mean, that's what it's all about in life. Like, if you have a salary, if you have a client, if you have any kind of income in your life, it's because you know other people who need your skills, or that are gaining from your skills. So it always comes back to that, right? It doesn't have to be transactional all the time. But let's also look at the numbers, because we can't just talk about woo-woo stuff and not actually look at data, because data actually rarely lies. So let's switch the camera and look at or in Ads Manager. All right, so right now we're in the ad account. As you can see, if I select yesterday, you will see there was one lead, and I think it was that lead that I mentioned yesterday. They booked a call, but they didn't show up. And I think it has to do with the time zone. So that is very strange, because in Calendly, it does seem like it might mess things up, because I'm on a European time zone, and usually I do book calls, and actually the ads are running in the US, so it's usually Eastern time. So yeah, I'll have to check into that again. From what I've seen, everything is fine, so who knows how come that issue appeared. But now let's look at today. So today spent $43, and as you can see, basically we've had around 9 clicks and also 2 leads. So one thing that I want to focus on right now is the fact that I will be following up with all of the leads. So if you actually look here, if I select the maximum period, you will see that basically there were 5 plus 23, so basically 28 leads, right? And many of them, some of them were irrelevant. So I would say maybe 20 of them were real people, and maybe 2-3 of them were actually decent leads. So what I need to do is actually email them, maybe send them a WhatsApp message and try to see what's their current goal status and so on. And right now, if we want to look at the actual ads that are doing the heavy lifting here, so let me just select. So let's look at today, so you can see which ads are doing the heavy lifting right now. If you go into these two, so the leads are coming from this one and this one, basically the same ad, just with different colors. So this one, for example, as you can see, has a blue text overlay, and this one has a green text overlay. And I think I also received a comment, but I'm not sure on which one. However, that's pretty much it when it comes to the ad account. So let's switch the camera back on so we can end this video with a conclusion, next steps, and all of the good things. All right, so we're back here for the last few seconds of this video. Basically, it's a recap of what we just said. As you can see, the ads are running, they are doing their job. Like I said, I do need to do a better job when it comes to actually making the connections, following up. And this is where actually you sometimes need help, right? Because most of us have different styles, skills. So for example, I am more introverted, meaning that I will in most cases not follow up and send messages all day to people. You know, it's not exactly that energy that I'm mostly into, right? It's like some people get energy from talking with people, some from being in their head and so on, right? But of course, there's like a spectrum. We all are somewhere in between, meaning that, for example, in my case, I know that around 80% of the time is spent alone, thinking, plotting, scheming, and so on, and 20% is spent on speaking, talking with other people, of course, listening as well. And yeah, you do need to know yourself, because that makes it easier to know exactly where you need to be in order to win. Because you can't put a basketball player on the soccer field or football field and have them win, right? Or perform well, because that's not their strength, right? So why would we expect in life things to be different? Because it's still a competitive game, but there's no competition if you actually play your own game, meaning that you play to your strengths and you're not trying to hustle, compete with someone who is naturally better than you, right? Like, I won't be doing sales all day just because that's not my style. So with all of that being said, I hope this video helped you. As always, hope you went away with something. If not, then you can think about it right now. And if you haven't left a like, subscribe, then you can do it. And basically, see you tomorrow. Peace. Peace out, actually.